Welcome to Her Own Boss, the podcast created by recent graduates to help you find your inner entrepreneur. Her Own Boss is created by Anissa, Ben, Sarah, Megan, Lucy, and me, Nikki. Today I'm talking with Joelle Phua about self-belief. Self-belief is so important for everyone, particularly young people at the start of their careers, and I can't think of anyone better suited to help us navigate this space than Joelle. Joelle is a life coach, blogger, podcaster, and YouTuber, as well as a final year sociology student at the University of Bath. After listening to this minisode, we'd love to hear more about what you're doing to build your self-belief over on our LinkedIn or Instagram. You can find us at Her Own Boss Podcast. Enjoy! This episode is sponsored both by Rise, created by Barclays, and Barclays Eagle Labs. Rise is a global community of the world's top fintech innovators on a mission to connect technology, talent, and trends, and to accelerate innovation and growth in the financial services industry. Eagle Labs are a national network that supports individuals, businesses, and corporates innovate and grow across a broad range of different sectors and with varied capabilities. Hi, Joelle.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good.
So this one's all about self-belief. It's something I feel like we've not really spoken about directly in the podcast before, but I feel like it comes up a lot in the context of confidence and then also imposter syndrome, which is something that not everyone, but I think a lot of young women do kind of, struggle with. So let's define self-belief and then why it's so important to have this as well.
Well, as a basic definition, it's pretty self-explanatory to have belief in yourself. I guess confidence really is a easier way to anchor that definition. But I guess something that I see a lot of is self-love and self-worth, right? And self-care. So I think that's because it's been popularized in media, is that self-love equates to self-care, which a lot of times isn't the case. And I feel like because it's been conflated, we've begun to kind of rely on these external remedies for internal issues, I suppose. And it's important to know that, having external things is fun. Obviously, who doesn't love to go for a spa or whatnot? But at the end of the day, those are temporary, and we need to slow down and really evaluate what's going on inside, because whatever happens outside or whatever we say reflects what is going on inside. So that's why it's important to build strong self-belief, and I guess that's what it is.
That's really interesting. I had never really thought about those kind of different dynamics, because you're right. I think there's so much on social media about taking a self-care day, having a bath, cooking yourself a nice meal, but that doesn't kind of solve all the problems. I mean, I think it's really important to take that time for yourself just from kind of, a mental well-being perspective. But if you don't truly believe in yourself or truly have kind of self-love or confidence, then, those self-care days aren't going to immediately fix that. So I guess on that note, what are your top tips or process to start building up your self-belief?
The first thing is to just confront it. A lot of these things is, you can't fix what you can't see. And obviously I operate from a standpoint that we're not broken, and we kind of have everything that we need in order to, get to that state of self-worth and self-belief. So I believe that is just, society that has kind of given us all these layers of self-doubt, comparison, competition, that's making it really hard for us, challenging to actually dig deep and see what's inside of you. So I would say is to really just stop and see what's going on. I mean, even by the listeners listening to this podcast, I'm sure you're interested in personal development and all that stuff. So I would say, just dedicate some time, or even talk to a friend, talk to a coach, talk to a therapist if you have one. And that for me is really helpful as well. Just having someone, or just speaking to yourself. I don't know. If it feels weird to just speak to yourself, record yourself. I know some friends who do that as well, and it's kind of like a diary. And sometimes that is really helpful because, for my clients, a lot of times we will have a conversation about a certain issue. And, at the beginning, they're speaking slowly and they're really thinking about what they're saying, or they're confused. And then by the end, they're more assured of themselves when they're speaking. So a lot of times you just need to confront the issue, whether you write it down in a journal or speak about it, is to just, look at what it is head on. Because at the end of the day, it will catch up with us at some point. So that's my first tip, I suppose. And another one I would say is to really think about your core values. because a lot of times not having self-worth or self-belief stems from the fact that we don't know who we are. We're just kind of going along with whatever seems attractive, whatever seems nice in that moment. But inevitably that will move on, whether that's, I mean, not to be morbid, but either people will come and go in your life, whether they pass away or whether you move from country to another country or city, right? So it's important to really think about who you are, because you spend the most time with yourself. And so going back to core values, at the core of it, it's thinking about what your purpose is. Because you hear a lot this time that purpose is some like abstract idea that you find once you go sell all your belongings, go backpacking in like Southeast Asia, right? But actually, it's something that we need to find in the everyday. And if we go with that definition, that it's something that we find in our mid-50s, right? Or no wonder we are still so lost and like purposeless in our day-to-day lives, because we don't have that anchor right now. So what I propose and what I work through with my clients is core values.
Yeah.
And that really gives you something to anchor your life in the day-to-day. So it enables you to make sure that you're aligned with your core beliefs, whatever you do. I mean, I kind of repeated myself there, but basically that's what it is.
Yeah.
And I mean, you never know what's going to happen in life. So if you suddenly couldn't do this thing that you're so excited about, that is your goal, if you still have your core values, you can still apply it to whatever you do. Obviously, you're going to have that like slump maybe, but that's completely normal. So yeah, that's definitely a really big one.
What are some, I guess, examples of core values? What is that for you, or what is that for some of the clients who you've worked with?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Mine are connection, impact, and faith. So that's like a really boiled down version. But if you kind of if you make them into like a sentence, so it's a little bit more tangible, a little bit more real. So for me, it would be like creating a positive impact, or cultivating deep connection, and nurturing my faith, spirituality, whatever that is, right? So it means that whatever you're doing in your daily life, whether you're having a conversation with someone, whether you're speaking on a podcast, or you're having a dinner with a friend, or you are, I don't know, in your work or whatever it is, you could find a way that it applies to one of your core values. There are some really good websites that can like help you guide this process, and usually what this process follows is just thinking about everything that's important to you. And one way that one of my clients did, which was a really good way, was to do like a mind map. So think about what are the most important areas in your life. Why is it important to you? What is the kind of feeling that it brings you? You'll begin to see patterns, see like common threads between things, that you'll find that core values. Obviously, it doesn't have to be like this compact, this condensed. And they might change, they might shift a little bit over time, and that's okay. But as long as you are aware of that, then you can always come back and reevaluate them at any time.
And so I guess the idea is that your core values are the things that give you energy or the most enjoyment. And then correct me if I'm wrong, but if you kind of figure out what gives you energy, what your core values are, core beliefs are, if you use those to kind of guide where you go next in whatever you do, is the idea that you'll then kind of feel more positive and self-belief in yourself.
Yeah, when you know who you are, you're a lot more sure of yourself, more confident in yourself, more belief in yourself, and it kind of has a knock-on effect on everything. And it's there to catch you. I think the most important thing is it's there to catch you when you're not feeling great. And so this provides a cushion, I suppose, as well, and a kind of framework for you to operate within when you feel like there's no structure, you feel like there's not much purpose in what you're doing. You can always fall back on that. So something that goes off that idea of core values really being there for you when you don't have anything else, maybe, is this analogy that I really like. And it's basically, if you think about a mountainous landscape, there'll be hills, there'll be valleys, and if you notice, the peak is actually the smallest point of the landscape. And it's somewhat ironic that we're always striving for that when it's actually the smallest bit. And we're always either going up that hill, tracking up, challenge, hard work, whatever it is, and then we're going down. But, by having core values, by cultivating your self-belief, even in the times where, in the valleys, right, when you're cultivating the values, they are no longer that scary, and that's something that I find really helpful to think about.
Yeah, no, I find this so fascinating because I think I'm someone who has always avoided like reflecting on what really means the most to me and like how I'm doing, whether that's at work or in uni or whatever else it is. And I think this idea of figuring out what your core values are and then use those as guiding stars, because as you say, like the peak is always so small. And I think sometimes we doubt ourselves not because we're not doing a good job, but because we're not getting the feedback we need. So having that kind of personal belief and those grounding values means that you don't kind of need the validation of other people, because you're not always going to be, the top of your class or, be the most outstanding at work, but that doesn't mean that you're not doing a good job. And I think that's where people struggle with confidence or start to feel imposter syndrome, is when they don't feel like they're doing the best, but you just have to be doing the best for yourself.
For sure.
I feel like I've just had a breakthrough for myself.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it takes talking it out with someone, because I know some people who work well with accountability from others. So like, if you are someone like that, if you're listening, maybe find someone that you trust and tell them, okay, you're going through this journey and you want to hit upon these core values. Once you have them, maybe you tell them so that they can keep you accountable, because sometimes we need like an external voice to break through our thoughts when we're not feeling great.
Yeah, definitely. That was going to kind of be my next question, like what to do if you feel like you're like missing a step or you've kind of fallen backwards. Are there any other things you can do, or would you recommend like the kind of speaking it out to someone?
Definitely speaking out to someone, and as well, also maybe just documenting it as well. Something fun that I like to get my clients to do, like as soon as we start working together, is to write our future selves an email. And it's literally futureme.org, and you can write your future self an email in a year, 3 years time, 5 years time.
Okay.
It's just something fun, and it's just nice to just suddenly get a reminder of like where you were at and see how much progress you've made, because in the moment it feels like nothing's changed, but actually when you look back, actually you can see how much you've grown in a month or like a year or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that. I'm definitely gonna do that, write myself an email.
Yeah,
cool. That was awesome. That was so helpful. And I think this idea of building self-belief from your own core values is really helpful, and I think something that we're not really taught to do enough. So thank you so much. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you've enjoyed this minisode, and don't forget to subscribe or follow so you don't miss the next one. As always, you can find us on Instagram and LinkedIn at Her Own Boss Podcast.